Welcome everyone. Good to have you with us. This is our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in New York, Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia, Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee, Thaddeus Kaloof in Newport Beach, California, and Pam Adger in Manatee, California. This is our Android Week. Hey, I'm back. Okay, so it's Monday, it's another Our Android Week, and we're excited to have you with us, so welcome. The first story up, I guess I'll do the panel real quick. We got Alan Furstenberg, welcome Alan, Thaddeus, and Pam on the big screen.
Hey, Dan.
Hey.
All right. Alan's ready to troll me. He's already done some rehearsal. Okay, so the first story is this coffee table thing. A big Android coffee table at $6,000, and it's pretty cool looking. It's basically water resistant or whatever.
Dan, let's cut to the chase and be honest here. It's basically a ripoff of what Microsoft demonstrated 5 years ago.
But it's
right?
Android.
So what?
It's cool. I mean, it's ridiculously overpriced. It's basically a television set. I would just get a TV. But, well, you can't really put, I guess you could put a protector, get a big protector. And can't you get an Android dongle?
It's more than just a TV. It's a multi-touch device. It handles something like 60 simultaneous touches to it, which is useful in certain circumstances. Yes, it's water resistant. But so basically they reinvented a Surface.
Isn't
this what Microsoft used to call a Surface?
Isn't this kind of like what Shepard Smith has in his Fox studio, the big giant tablets?
Probably.
But I think they're like 480p or 720p or something. It's not, But it's overpriced, but I could totally see if it were. It depends how durable it was. I could totally. Can you imagine this in a coffee shop or something, right?
Hey, and there's a couple of reports where kind of echoey. Over the, I guess from the start, it's been really echoey. And I think you have the YouTube video playing through the thing as well.
I muted it, but I will investigate. Okay, y'all do your thing, and Alan, you want to take over, and I'll investigate.
Sure. Okay. So on this, Surface clone, does anybody else have any other thoughts? Thaddeus.
It's definitely a Surface clone. It's something that I don't know. I'm in the middle on it. We gotta find a practical use for it. We definitely gotta find a practical use for it.
Oh, I can think of lots of practical uses for it. I mean, the video that's showing demonstrates a bunch of different uses for it. I think it does work well in museum-type scenarios, for example. It would be a great place for it. You can easily see kids wanting to use it and having that as part of, any children's museum, any doctor's waiting room. I can see a lot of, uses for it. Yes, of course, having it in a coffee shop would be cool. Having it in a bar would be cool. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that it can be used for. I don't think there's anything particularly, this is just revolutionary and radical.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. That's missing. Minus for kids, it's kind of, I don't see a need for it yet. I don't see a use. No wow factor.
The video showed it, the video demonstration showed you playing, keyboard on it, which, was visually kind of cool. It's neat, but, so it's, to be honest. Any thoughts, Pam? Okay, Marty. Moving on to the next story. We covered this briefly on Friday a little bit. This little bit of technology called the Beep, which is basically a way to, what's the best way to put it? To kind of plug in your older speakers and broadcast to it from Pandora currently. I don't know. Have you guys taken a look at this? Any? Meet Beep, the Chromecast for your old speakers. Go ahead, Thaddeus. What do you think?
I have an older TV. Well, not older. It's a flat screen. It's a Samsung. And it has this, I guess, this app that you can go into the menu settings or whatever and kind of go on the internet, kinda, as long as you use the remote control to plus over and plus mine, you hit A 3 times to get, C, that kind of thing. It's laborious and you can't use a regular keyboard or whatever. It's useless, basically, unless you have a lot of time to sit around and type in what you want, right? And then it goes out slowly over the internet and kind of searches for it and brings it back or whatever. You can scan Amazon Prime. You can try and set up your radio station through what is it? One of those. I think it might be Pandora.
Wouldn't surprise me. Pandora seems to pair up with a lot of these.
Yeah, but it's not, it's not quick. It's not intuitive. It's not easy to use. So I'm guessing this would be similar. Just more trouble than it's worth to go out and buy some new speakers.
It's also, and the audio thing I'll show you guys on the right there. You see my streaming thing, and I had this was checked. So if it's unchecked, you get echo, or if it's on, you get echo, which I don't know how that got checked or whatever, but anyway, it's fixed. Yeah, I think, Pam, you could do the same thing. The apps will be different, but it's the first thing I saw was this is a $150 device. It's basically a Chromecast for audio only, but you'd get apps and they'd release an API and people like whatever service could stream this, and you could turn your old stereo system into a smart stereo system. But you could accomplish the same thing with Chromecast with a $30 HDMI to composite converter. And I've seen people do this where if they just and the application for this would be if you have a TV that doesn't have HDMI input, and that's the Google search you look for. And so you would just have your Chromecast, and your Chromecast is powered via USB, so it's not powered through the HDMI plug. So it's kind of dumb. It doesn't communicate back from the TV to the Chromecast. So you plug it into the converter. You don't even use the video, and you just have the white and red RCA out, and then you can use your Chromecast apps to accomplish the same thing. Now, those are different apps that are geared more toward video than just audio. But that would be a hack that would be a lot cheaper. $30 plus the Chromecast. So there.
I didn't really see why this was such a big deal, only because, we've been doing this since probably, at least 2007 with AirPlay. And honestly...
Well, the point that it makes with AirPlay, the difference between it and AirPlay is AirPlay only works with AirPlay-compatible speakers. The point of this is, hey, if you've got, whatever speaker system you currently have, it'll work with it. This is more of a stereo component than a stereo replacement.
Right, but even still, like right now, I have a Chromecast plugged into a receiver, and I can just play audio if I want. I don't necessarily have to have a picture or anything special for that to happen. And it was the same with AirPlay. Like I just feel like this is one of those devices where they've created an unnecessary device because we can kind of do that right now. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah,
Not wowed at all. I guess that's
I'm
what I'm
not
trying
wowed
to say.
at this, but I'm also not wowed by audio stuff in general. So.
Period. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, just as long as I can hear it, I'm good.
I would think that the kind of person who would be interested in this product or even aware of it would have a fancier audio system. I don't know. But we'll see. It could be a niche appeal topic, right? So
yeah, sure. Next topic.
Okay, next up is leaked Google document talks about new Android policy to reduce fragmentation. And Alan, I think you have issues with this, right?
No. I have issues with the subject we're discussing later.
Okay.
This is actually almost a good thing. Actually, the only issue I have with this is that it would be great if Google actually followed their own freaking policy. But besides that,
Could you
I
explain what
think
this
this
is
is a good thing.
about before?
Sure. Basically, they're saying that any new hardware that gets approved is going to that's going to need to be approved by Google for as part of its program, is going to need to commit to upgrading Android for, I think it's 2 years. So
And
they're
within,
basically
to do
saying
so
that
within 9 months, right?
is it within
I think it's
okay,
a
yeah.
9-month window.
Yeah. So basically, they're saying they're tired of companies, putting something out with an old version of Android or with a new version of Android and then just never touching it again. So it's basically their attempt to reduce fragmentation, and that's a good thing.
And it's pretty much of a compromise, isn't it? Just a 2-year thing, and to give them 9 months to do it, to put all their bloatware and crap. And the biggest offender, Samsung, has now agreed to allegedly agreed to be a little more like a pure Android, less TouchWiz, right?
Well, I think it's HTC that's the bigger offender in this scenario. HTC completely destroys Android, so I think HTC is one that definitely needs this rule to be put into play.
I've never seen an HTC, but the one was very well reviewed, right? Was it? How do they? I know, like, I mean, I'm a Nexus 7 and I have a Samsung Note 2, right? So I have a pure Android device. I know what that is, and then I have my Note 2, which has TouchWiz and all this Sprint Zone, all this BS on there. So, what does HTC do? You know what
HTC
I mean?
totally skins the whole entire layout. I mean, even menu options and everything is completely changed. Everything it's like a whole nother phone half the time with HTC Sense. It's horrible compared to Samsung. Samsung is like just a walk in the park compared to HTC.
Do you think that that's the reason that HTC, despite debatably but generally considered to be putting out a superior hardware product, has not gained the traction that Samsung has?
I think so. I think so, because they always have battery life issues because they have so much junk running.
Do the different phone companies have some influence on that, or is it just the manufacturer?
To my understanding, it starts with the manufacturer, and then the phone carriers add their stuff in after the manufacturers complete all their changes. So yeah, so it's a little bit of everybody, but the manufacturers are generally wanting. Most of them. I'm sorry, the carriers generally want only certain things. Verizon is kind of the big offender with that, where they want everything to be red and the whole 9 yards. But
so my current phone came preloaded with 12 Google apps, 16 Samsung apps,
Pam, could you list the apps that you've added since?
I could. iHeartRadio, Snapseed, Solitaire.
That's okay. So yeah,
Verizon. 1, 2, 3.
I forgot what topic we're talking about.
10 Verizon apps.
Are you serious? Wow. That's
Yep.
like bill pay and NASCAR, Sprint.
Verizon apps are voicemail, mobile hotspot, caller name ID, My Verizon Mobile, Verizon Tones, Slacker, which is some radio thing, Setup Wizard, NFL Mobile, VZ Navigator, and VZ Protect. Google, I have to add, there's Maps, Google Settings, Play Store, and those are outside of the little 12 I already mentioned, so almost 16. So I would have to say it's a toss-up between Google and Samsung for the number of apps running on my phone that were preloaded. I didn't load any of these.
Yeah, some of the stuff like Sprint, I don't think it's on my new phone, but like I was getting forced push notifications for NASCAR. And with all due respect to NASCAR fans.
Game.
No, I mean actual NASCAR races, scores and stuff.
Oh, really?
And I couldn't care less. I mean, with all due respect to NASCAR fans, I just as soon as have cricket on the phone. I don't know anything about cricket. except NASCAR's louder than cricket. Okay, so there we go. So that's a good thing. Within 2 years, they gotta commit to updates, max 9-month length. And I think, Alan, the other thing, don't they have to start with either the newest version or a version that's not more than 9 months old, right?
Correct. That's how I read it anyway. Is that basically once a version comes out, they have 9 months to start using that version. So 9 months is still a long time is still a long lag, but it's better than what we had before.
Okay. So even in emerging markets, they're going to get KitKat, which is great.
Basically, yeah. Well, KitKat is at a point now where they are able to do that. For most lower capacity phones, phones like the Galaxy Nexus, except it's not supported. But phones with those sorts of capabilities can now easily be supported on KitKat.
So there's no excuse to not use KitKat, really.
Right. Exactly. And it really has taken them a while to get to the point where they could do this. They probably couldn't do it before. Certainly, with 4.0, they weren't really in a good position to do it. 4.1 started introducing some performance improvements, which were desperately needed, and let it work on lower-end processors. And now with 4.4, they're addressing the low memory issues as well.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else on this?
No.
All right, next is AllCast Creator demos Android screen running through Chromecast. So this is from Engadget. It's a YouTube video. Basically, it's a blog post about a YouTube video. So let me turn the volume down. I can't hear it, but I know it streams if I don't hit that. So here's this guy. This is the AllCast creator. And so he's got his television here. And he's getting ready to play Flappy Bird, Alan's favorite game. And there's his phone. And you can see he's got it on his television set using Chromecast. And it's actually, Google said you couldn't do this because it wouldn't be responsive enough, but it's actually quite responsive, I think, Alan. We'll see where this goes. Is this, you think, an officially a sanctioned test? Or just, I don't know how the API works. I know you.
Well, I'm sure at this point he is actually using the real API. And it's becoming a matter of being able to get the frames fast enough off of Android and over the air without, frying the Android phone. So this is an impressive demo. And I look forward to seeing how this actually makes it into the final product. I think the important takeaway, though, is this isn't really the best use of a Chromecast. This is an excellent use, and I'm glad to see this supported. But Chromecasts really are meant to work best as a standalone device, with using your Android or your browser as a controller, not as the caster, because that just makes two devices work really hard instead of one device work really hard. So this is great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm even more looking forward to seeing him port this to Glass, to be perfectly honest, because that's going to be a kick-ass app. But this is an important step, but it's only one small piece of what the Chromecast should be used for. Kadeus, I keep seeing you making gestures agreeing with me.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think that would be good to make it easier to show Glass to a lot more people. So, yeah. Plus some other things as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. I know Pam's very excited, especially about the API angle.
I forgot what API stands for.
It's Application Programming Interface, right?
Wow, Dan got it right.
All right, so Pam
Next
will
subject.
resist the urge to comment on this one. Next up.
Yeah, I'm only here for the politics, the science, and porn.
The porn apps. She heard. That's the only reason I got her on the show. She heard we have porn apps. How Google might use Android to finally eliminate the need for passwords. Now, Alan, I swear to God, I read this thing like 2 or 3 times. I really don't have a freaking clue exactly how slick login works. Perhaps you could enlighten us. This will be an Alan Cadeas topic.
It's slick. It's slick. I mean, it's pretty easy.
Yeah,
see what Cadeas did just
what else is there to say?
See what he did there?
It's smooth.
So how does it work?
Basically, that's a really good question, and it's kind of hard to tell because I've never heard of these guys before today. When Google announced they were buying them, or had bought them, basically, as far as I can understand from this article, the slick login method tries to assure that the person sitting at the keyboard is the person who you think they are, and is the same person that's associated with a smartphone of some sort. And the way it does it is it plays an audio over the computer speakers that humans can't hear, and the smartphone will pick up on it and transmit that back to the host that's playing it. And by hearing exactly what it's been playing, it knows that the person sitting at that computer is the person who owns that smartphone, and therefore it can use that as an authentication system. It's interesting, it's clever, and I wish you could see Cadeas' face right now, because that's about what I think. And
That's always about my face.
Because you've got a great facial expression.
Okay.
We really should just keep the focused on you all the time, or have you in a little box in a corner.
I'm gonna pull a Pam if you do that. I don't know, this slick login. It sounds like it's just a fancy way to do what we already have now. I mean, that's kind of what we have when we're using G-Authenticator and the whole 9 yards. I mean, I don't know. It just
sure, but the difference is that with that sort of thing, you need to type in what you see on your smartphone. You need to type that in. It is the same sort of thing, but it's a lot more transparent. It means that I could go to a website, it could play the audio, my smartphone can pick up on the audio, and I'm automatically logged in without even knowing that I've just been authenticated. I think it's clever. I think it's...
It goes with your voice, or what does it do?
No, it plays audio. Picture that you go to a website, and it plays audio just by landing on the web page.
But it's a high pitch.
It's high pitch, so you as a human don't hear it. Your smartphone, however, does hear it. So it hears it. It recognizes this is a special login audio, and it sends it back to where the audio originated from. So now that site gets the audio back, confirms that it's the correct audio, knows which smartphone it came from, and knows which person is associated with that smartphone.
So this is not to log into your phone the way Apple has the fingerprint thing. This is to log into Amazon or eBay or whatever.
Right. This is similar to what Google is doing now with its two-factor authentication, using your smartphone as one of the factors to know that you are you. This is the same sort of thing, just with a slightly different spin on it. And there are some places where this is might be even more effective than two-factor authentication. It could be used, for example, in cases where you don't have a keyboard or a touchpad to enter in the passcode that's being shown to you. It'll just take place automatically.
I think this is a play to just take the idea. That's what I think. I don't necessarily think this is we're going to see this in Google's site even in the next 10 years. It just seems like it's on to something. It's one of those things where it's kind of, they seem to be on to something. Let's grab them and take the idea before somebody else does, kind of scenario. I don't know.
Or they want the team. Or they want the team.
Or they want the team, right. Like it's not so much about what this technology does.
I wonder in what order they do this. There's three reasons Google buys a company. Either they think the product has merit, or they want the team, or they don't want anybody else to get it in case the first two things are accurate. And it's all speculative. I wonder in what order they rank those priorities.
I think it depends on the technology, the team, and the competition.
Because like Milk, when that was Kevin Rose, right? They wanted him.
Right. I think it varies in each case. In this case, I think it's interesting technology, but not compelling technology. I think them wanting the team, maybe, but if these guys are a one-trick pony, they're not really getting much by having the team. However, they may be getting something by blocking anyone else from having a really cool two-factor authentication system. I think really what they're doing here is they are big and really pushing multi-factor authentication. They are really trying hard to get rid of passwords because passwords are horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. On Friday night show, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, Google Plus Week, we will once again be talking about how some passwords are really going to be screwing people over. Passwords are bad. They're horrible. They're evil, and we need to get rid of them. The only reason why we still have them is there is still no really good solution to them. I'm not sure that this is a really good solution to them either, but I think it may play part of a solution.
And I think that's what Google's trying to jump on top of before everybody else does. If they can solve that,
I think Google
that puts
is
Google
out
Plus
in front.
sign-in in the front. Yeah.
Google is out in front of wanting to be an authentication provider. And this is one tool that they need to do that. Next topic, Dan.
Okay, so next up, so we'll see where it goes, but it ain't Tesla. Okay, next up, this is just interesting. I used to have a BlackBerry Tour, and the BlackBerry Messenger was a great IM message system. The only drawback was it only worked with other BlackBerry users. So Angie, one of my sales reps, had a BlackBerry, so we occasionally used it, and it was very fast. It was in real time, and that's one of the appeal that BlackBerry had, especially for young people, and in the developing countries, they were popular because it was a free way to bypass text surcharges back when they were charging you for so many texts. And now they've gotten better, according to this article, on iOS and Android. You can do voice calls. It's more like a Magic Jack or a Skype voice call than the quality you get from an actual phone call. So, A, what do you think of this? B, are we going to get to a point where your phone, you don't really have voice calls the way we do now, where it's all just IP stuff? Isn't it kind of...
Well, the carriers are definitely ready for that. That's why they shift over the data. They're definitely ready for that. What I would say on this product is I'm sick and tired of these messaging services. They just keep coming up by the truckloads, and none of them are providing anything significantly different than what their competition provides. And BlackBerry Messenger is just late. Yes, it was first, but now it's late to the game coming to the other platforms. And I just wish we'd find a way to consolidate a lot of these, whether it's Hangouts, whether it's Line, WeChat, WhatsApp, whatever service. We need to find a way to consolidate. It's kind of almost like the...
We have the way! We have the way, Cadeus!
What is it then? What's the way?
It's XMPP. We've had it for 10 years now. Nobody did anything with it! That's why Google turned it off.
And that's why... Right, exactly. That's the problem. That's the problem. So now we are back to Yahoo, freaking AOL, right, MSN, and back to this same thing again, except it's smartphones.
And the reason why is because everyone wanted to be able to have to lock you into their own platform, so you could pull all of your friends into that platform. So nobody wants to be intercompatible. It's not worth it to anybody. Which is, a crying shame. I look at this feature, with the features here on BBM. Ooh, new emoticons. They got to choose from 100 new emoticons. Oh my God!
You see what I'm saying?
That's listed as one of the 6 major features that is new with this. I can see everyone abandoning iChat and Hangouts in droves for this.
Here's a question.
This is revolutionary.
It's useless. That's why we need one.
Do you guys think that they'll ever put out an Android phone? I'd love to have that BlackBerry keyboard.
It would be great if they did, because there are lots of people that want the keyboard. But that's the only reason why anyone wants a BlackBerry these days.
Dan, wait for Typo. Typo's going to be on more than one device. So it's going to be on more than one device. So you'll get your keyboard soon enough.
What's Typo?
That's the iPhone keyboard that's designed specifically off BlackBerry. It's keyboard, so it works 100%. The whole key layout and the way it presses is 100% BlackBerry.
Those are the guys that are getting sued by BlackBerry, right?
Right. They're getting sued by BlackBerry. But their products in the marketplace now, and they got other ones coming out.
What is? So I don't you know, my phone has the keyboard. I don't want to show you the text that I just sent, but let's,
Pam definitely adds a whole new element to the program.
You know, my phone has a keyboard.
Is that physical?
But it's not physical.
No,
it's
the
not
difference
physical
is
though.
physical. There are some good things about physical keyboards. I still
Hey,
like
you
my.
guys! No, wait. You guys made. You guys made fun of me for my Samsung Stratosphere that I slid out the keyboard. They were, oh, keyboards. No one uses keyboards anymore. So
No, I never said that. I never said.
I'll be the first one to say that.
Here is my Samsung Insight. Okay, mind you, it was an
Just like
utterly
that.
crappy phone.
Why do you
The phone
have that?
itself sucked.
Why do you have that?
Why do I have? This is my first
That
Android
sucks.
phone.
I'm sorry, that should have never been your first Android phone.
I mean, it was a horrid phone. This is why I think Samsung are a pack of idiots.
This type's just fine. Why would
No, there are people who
have
have a
long
lot
nails?
of trouble with soft keyboards.
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan.
People who have like circulatory problems and
You know, people who like typing with
don't
their
get any blood to their fingertips.
people who like typing with their fingernails instead of the tips of their fingers.
Yeah. And when I had really long nails, it was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
You know, I had like those dragon lady nails or whatever. It was kind of like you learn how to do it with the side of your fingers.
So you're saying the touchscreen modernized you, Pam? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, my nails are short.
I don't know. I mean, I liked the keyboard. That was the only thing I liked about this damn product. But the keyboard, I did like the hardware keyboard.
So basically, BlackBerry Messenger needs to go by the wayside.
They just need to go. Period.
The whole company? You think the whole company needs to go?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Let them go. I mean, what is it? Apparently,
Let them go.
apparently, the head of BBM, Andrew Brocking, left the company 2 days ago. So he obviously thinks this is going to be a smashing success. Really, BlackBerry needs to die. Somebody needs to come along and pick up the pieces and actually make some quality junk with this. They've got good IP. Somebody who knows what the hell they're doing should be able to do something with it. Let them die. Let them be reborn. Next topic.
Next up. Okay, the money's in mobile. This is an article, The Money's in Mobile. This is from Forbes.
Shocking! Absolutely shocking! Mobile is where people are going to make money from now on. Oh my God, this is revolutionary! Just ask BlackBerry. They know that... Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
The money's in mobile. Supercell and the rise of gaming's new giant. Some were surprised to learn that the now removed and often maddening Flappy Bird is netting its developer. This is disputed, but maybe 50 grand a day in advertising revenue. But really, that's small potatoes compared to Finnish wonderkind Supercell, which announced it made $892 million last year, thanks to hit games Heyday and Clash of Clans. Perhaps even more breathtaking is the fact that that number is up from 101 million the year before. That's a big difference. As gaming, of course, you could probably say the same about Flappy Bird. As gaming reaches a broader and more mobile audience, Supercell, which sold for 51% of itself last year sold half of it for $1.5 billion, is the poster child. The company it sold to, SoftBank, has quietly put itself on the verge of becoming the most profitable company in all of gaming. So what's the deal?
You want to cut to the quick here, which is basically saying that traditional game companies which are selling on consoles are losing money, while companies that are spending very, very small amounts to make smash hit games, which are, one-week wonders, are making tremendous amounts of money. That's the story here.
Are mobile games to YouTube, iCarly hit viral stars? Are mobile developers to iCarly what?
Can we just point out that iCarly
consoles,
is a Nickelodeon brand name and has nothing to do with actual YouTube?
Not iCarly, iJustine.
Yeah.
Are mobile developers iJustine and console developers are traditional broadcasters? I mean, is that?
That's not too far off, yeah. I mean, I think some traditional developers are catching on to the fact that they could create the casual mobile gaming. But that's where the money is increasingly these days. It's not that you can't make money by developing big names on mobile platforms, but they're catering to a very small audience of hardcore gamers.
And see, the gaming community, the gaming developers, they did this to themselves because they continuously pressed to make more and more graphics and gameplay slowly lacked. And then over time, it became more engaging to play on a smartphone than it was to play their games. And then it takes them so long now because they want the graphics to be so much on level 20, whereas on these phones, no one's really pushing graphics. I mean, look at Flappy Bird's graphics. I mean, look what they're netting to be. Somebody drew that on one
2
day.
days.
I mean, like it's not. Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah,
Well,
and
also,
so the gaming industry has totally lost direction. They totally have, compared to how it used to be. So that's why I kind of feel we're shifting to mobile on games and everything else, is specifically because of that.
the last great game I played on a console. In fact, I bought the PlayStation 2 was Final Fantasy X, and it was awesome. Basically, a couple weeks of wasted time. I loved it, and now. Is that Electronic Art? Who is that? Whoever that is.
Square Enix.
Yeah, Square Enix. They're releasing. They're
Hang on,
releasing
Dan.
all their
Listen to what you
titles
just-
for Android.
Listen to what you just said, though. A couple of weeks of wasted time. Compare that with something like Candy Crush Saga, where people are wasting months of time on it, or Angry Birds, which has been at the top of the hit list for over a year now.
Yeah, I'm talking like 12 hours a day playing this freaking game. I mean,
Right,
no
but
joke,
Right. The difference, though, is that people,
with the guidebook, the whole deal.
The old attitude towards games are the same as the old attitude towards movies, or as you put it, just about any other big media production. You're going to watch it and then you're done with it. Whereas the new attitude towards games are, this is something you're going to keep playing over and over and over and freaking over until the next big thing comes out. And then maybe you're still going to go back to the old one because you're that hooked on it. That's the kind of games that are coming out now. The heavily repeatable, the heavily playable, the very casual. You could spend 5 minutes doing it or 30 seconds doing it.
Well, there's still a mark. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a new thing. I think there's always been ups and downs and cycles, and there's always been different types of games, even when they were, using dice or boards. I mean, there's been the strategy games, there's been the shoot 'em up, Castle Wolfenstein. There's the role-playing games, and there's the arcade style. I mean, and
sure, but what we're seeing is that the traditional games, they still have a market. They will always have a market, but that market is shrinking, and it's not commanding.
What's your definition?
The prices
of
that it needs
games?
to support them.
What do you mean by traditional games? Console games, like
things that are based on, I would say console games or what grew out of the arcade games, the older arcade games. The long play, the heavy graphics, the graphics intensive stuff, the stuff that is nowadays equated to movies. They've got long-running plots. They've got a beginning, a middle, and an end story arc. Those sorts of games, they're definitely out there, but they're very expensive to create and produce. Therefore, they're very expensive to buy for the consumer, and they have a limited playability. You play the beginning, the middle, the end, and you're done with the game.
True. Final Fantasy X, which was, I think, their peak, was like a movie and a novel wrapped up. But it did have a beginning. I mean, it's not something you go back and do again, maybe, but it was epic. I would, if they port it so I could play it on my Nexus 7, I will.
Would you pay $50 for it?
I would pay $100 for it. The games now, the earlier ones, I think they got like 5 or 6, whatever it is. They're like $15 or something each, and they're very highly reviewed, very highly rated, I'd pay $100 for that.
You pay $100 for an Android game?
Hell yeah. Final Fantasy X on my Nexus 7? Absolutely. Now, I'm in a minority on that, I'm sure.
You're in a vast minority on that.
But also, these are...
You need a hobby. You need a hobby.
I don't play games, Pam. I really don't. I'm more of a news consumer than anything else. But I right now they're selling it for $15, but they're basically, it's their back catalog. It's their Madonna, Elton John, and Billy Joel that they're repackaging for Android. So the effort is just to port it to make it functional, but they're fully functional ports. And they said it'll be a while before the Android and iOS or iOS get to the point where they can do the full PlayStation 2 version from 10 years ago or whatever it was on a mobile device. Pam, do you play games at all? I mean, do you play Tetris on the can or anything?
Solitaire. I have 250 different solitaire games on my phone.
I never learned the solitaire, to be honest. And I can tell you that actually the classic games have historically been the most popular. Unless you, I mean, not including new hits like Flappy Bird.
The benefit of having something like Solitaire is, even though it has ads on the game, because I downloaded the free version, is I can play it on the airplane. I don't have to go online and play somebody. And I downloaded. Someone wanted me to do like this crossword game or Scrabble game. And I swear to God, it drained my battery. 36% of the entire, and I couldn't stop it from doing it. You couldn't change the settings so that it wasn't like sucking life out of your battery. I couldn't figure out how to, it wouldn't turn off ever.
Welcome to Android, the world of crappily written software that drains batteries.
Yeah, that's crap. So anyway, Solitaire doesn't require that I create a username, a game name. It doesn't, prop up inappropriately during meetings when someone wants to take their turn. None of that stuff. So yeah, that's what I play. Solitaire, and it was free.
A couple comments. Chad Willis is watching the Asteroid Show. As soon as they find it, he'll tune in to our program. And then Rich Hat has a question for Cadeas. Why do you feel that the iPhone is superior to the Note 2 when taking video? Have you truly tested both? That's a test I could do if Craig swings by my town on his way back from Florida, because he's got an iPhone and I've got a Note 2. What do you think, Cadeas?
All right, I'll do a test this week and I'll explain my findings in a video.
Do you have both phones?
I can get a hold of them pretty easy.
Okay. I'm sure one of your cool friends has an iPhone. They'd loan you.
Hey, Ed Allen, it looks like Nick Dallas has a question for you. He wants to know, what do you think of MMORPGs?
And explain that for
MMORPGs, massively multiplayer online role-playing games.
Why did you start laughing at that? Why did that make you laugh?
Oh.
That's a good question. It really wouldn't surprise me if they take off a bit more on mobile than they have in the past. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I'll buy that. I think one of the good things about that genre is that it is the sort of thing where you don't necessarily need the highest quality or the fastest graphics, and it does benefit from the networking that mobile phones all tend to have. There are exceptions, of course. I know there are high quality, high-res graphic versions of them, but they don't all need it. And I think even there are some really neat things that you can do with a mobile device that in that genre that you can't do with a desktop. And I'm going to be interested to see how many of them explore those capabilities.
You could do like a real scavenger hunt, or like geocaching.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. That would be kind of cool.
I think there are interesting things to play with.
Combine the role-playing, cosplay, smartphone thing. That would be really cool.
There's a lot of potential there, and I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yep.
What's that online virtual? I had this friend of mine. She used to date a friend of mine. friend-in-law.
You're thinking Second Life.
Yeah, she would sit there for hours and build a freaking kitchen table set and then sell it. What the hell? What's wrong with America?
Nothing. That's what was. What do you mean? What's wrong with America? Are you freaking kidding me, Dan? This was what was brilliant about Second Life. Second Life supports the things that you have been clamoring for every single Friday night. You have loved it. It basically, Second Life encouraged creativity and innovation and people that were creating things. Now, yes, they were creating things in a virtual environment, but you had to actually build them. You had to create them. You had to design them. There was art. There was programming. There was a lot of things going into this. It wasn't just press button, things happen.
So game as platform.
Yeah, well, Second Life was weird. In a lot of ways. Weird is in Pam type weird.
Is it still around? You say was.
Maybe that's why Pam was laughing earlier.
It's as far as last I heard, it's been on a very rapid decline recently. I'm not actually sure if it's still around.
The Orkut of games, if you will.
That actually is not an in-app description, except Second Life was always pretty good, while Orkut was always pretty crap.
I'm all about analogies tonight. Okay.
You were about analogies, just like. Next subject.
Next subject is Android's open system has limits. And Alan, I think you may have. That's the way the stories have appeared, right? Android is secretly forcing carriers,
the biggest
blah, blah, blah.
BS.
Alan has a few thoughts. I'm going to run to 7-Eleven. I'll be
BS
back.
That I have ever seen.
Tell us what the deal is, and then tell us your thoughts. Tell us what the stories were insinuating, and then tell us what you think.
I'm trying to, Dan, but you keep interrupting me. This is the biggest BS ever. The stories that first came out started insinuating that there's this grand conspiracy theory that Android has been doing, that Google's been doing with Android, that they keep calling it open, but it really isn't open, because if you want to do anything with Android, you need to actually get a license from Google to do all of Google's services. Well, no kidding! That was never the point of Android. Android's code is out there. It's open. Google will hand it out to anybody who wants it. You take it, you download it. Now, that doesn't mean that if you want Google Maps, they'll give you Google Maps source code. Doesn't mean that if you want search or YouTube or any one of a dozen other Google services, that they'll give you those services.
Didn't you do a photo illustrating this with arrows, or was that Danny Sullivan? Like, this is Android, this isn't Android. You know what I mean? Like, Gmail is not Android.
Gmail's not Android, and that's the thing that people weren't grasping, is they were thinking that just because it was from Google, it meant that you got all of Google's stuff. And it doesn't. What it means is that you get a core operating system that you can put on a phone, and that will work as a smartphone. And that's all they were promising with it. Now, yes, it came with things that let you do text messaging. And it still does, even though Google's text messaging is now done through Hangouts. It came with things that let you do phone dialing. It came with, I believe it even came with an email app that wasn't Gmail. So it came with a lot of things, and it still does come with a lot of things in open source. It came with a basic camera and a basic gallery. Yes, Google has replaced both of those with a camera that now supports things like Photosphere, and a gallery that now automatically uploads to Google+, but there is still the old camera and gallery in the open source platform. So if that's kind of the crux of the debate here. Is
the best argument against this whole story that's not accurate is that if Amazon wanted to launch the Kindle Fire today for the first time, they'd be perfectly free to do so with their own apps, their own app store, and everything. There's no fight from Google, never has been. But if they want, all of the little gems, the little accessories that Google provides that are not Android, then they have to, play by those rules. But
then
Amazon's choosing not to do that.
then you have to license Google's products, and licensing Google's products comes with a cost. And that may not be a monetary cost, because I don't think that's ever been revealed, but it does come with the cost that if you're going to carry one, you've got to carry all of them. And for some people, that's an unacceptable cost. Like, Amazon, that's an unacceptable cost. For lots of hardware producers in China and India, that's an unacceptable cost. They're still free to use Android, and they do. And there's tremendous benefits to them to using Android, even if you're not using Google's Android, or the Play Store Android, or however you want to define it.
Couple comments real quick. Chad Willis notes that the asteroid was a bust, so I guess it's sort of like Geraldo's unearthing of the
Al Capone safe. Keep going.
And Kevin Bryan says thanks for resharing that post on his glass thing, which we're going to talk about, I think, in depth on Friday.
Yes.
So go ahead, Alan. Continue your rant. Sorry.
No, I'm pretty much done with these pack of idiots that really don't know what the hell they're talking about. These are the same idiots, I would point out, who not 6 months ago were talking about Android fragmentation and how Google had to do something about that. So when Google does something about it, now they're pissed off that Google's doing something about it.
And speaking of a pack of idiots, let me remind you, Google Plus Week is Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. So,
featuring many of the same people who are tonight's panelists, who may not be next week's panelists if Dan keeps up.
So what do you think, Cadeas and Pam, about this? Let's go with Pam first, because I kind of feel,
More clueless than...
What do you think? I mean, you can see that. I mean, there's a difference between Gmail and YouTube versus, their suite of apps. You get Android for free, and Amazon uses it for free and makes their own thing, which is heavily designed to sell stuff for Amazon. My mom loves her Kindle Fire, and I think she's got the HD one, and the speakers are superior. The hardware is great. It's a nice device if you're into Amazon Prime and Amazon Kindle books and stuff. It's basically a high-end, fully featured Kindle. So I don't have a problem with any of this stuff, and I do agree with Alan that this story was way inaccurate in its thrust.
I would agree with that. I mean, it's... I guess haters will be haters, right? I mean, it's a slow news week. I mean,
well, if it isn't this, they'll find something else to
exactly
track Google and Amazon about.
People don't want to be forced to do or have anything, especially on their phone, where it could possibly use some data or access some information or whatever. I mean, I don't know how new your phone is. Have you received an update notice for any of your bloatware? Oh, it's time to update whatever.
Yeah, I get that from Samsung.
Yeah. If you look to see the things that it can access on your phone, you're like, holy crap, I do not want that to happen, even though it already happens. It's like there's like 20 things I'm not going to update on my phone.
And I'm looking forward to Samsung's alleged new policy where they're going to be less into that and more into native Android, because when you get these push updates, it doesn't tell you what's new. There's no reviews on it. It's not like a Play update where you get feedback. You can make a decision. Do I want to upgrade this? Is this version working well? You don't get any of that. They just stick it on there.
Yep. Because
it's through their own Samsung thing.
And I think that might be the impetus for this article. I don't think that, they're a hater because they're
Samsung. Well, Samsung, just so you know, Samsung, the majority of the services and apps that they've added on there, if you go in the app section, you should be able to disable them, and then they won't even impact your phone at all anymore. Now, some things are barred from disable, but the majority of them on Samsung should be able to be disabled. LG's another story.
What do you mean disabled?
If you, I'll show you after the show.
Okay.
And then Pam will show you after the show.
Oh boy.
Nope, not showing him nothing.
So Europe is apparently investigating this, I love my European friends, and I've lived half of my childhood. I lived in Europe, but I don't know how anybody could have a successful business in Europe with their regulators just off the chain. Crazy.
Europe or a specific country? Are you talking about the European Union?
Yeah, EU's going to investigate this if it's an abuse of Android's power. But I mean, a fifth
This
grader.
is exactly the opposite of an abuse of Android's power.
Don't they investigate Apple?
I mean, they give
come on
Android
now.
away for free. Anyone can use it. If you want to use Google services, then you have to agree to Google's terms. I don't understand why that is. Why a fifth grader who's barely literate could not understand what the hell's going on here. And in Europe, they're going to spend God knows how, hauling. I'm sure they'll haul the local Google reps before some commission and the TV cameras and the whole.
Here's the thing.
Deal.
Within a month, Nokia is going to introduce an Android phone, and Google's going to point to it and say, look, that's how we don't act as a monopoly here. We win. Thank you, Microsoft, for ensuring that we get to piss all over the EU regulators again. So, I'm looking forward to the Nokia Android phone only because it means that Google is going to be able to laugh about it. Even though it's not going to be a Google-licensed Android phone. And I think that's great. They can point to things like CyanogenMod. They can point to just about every Chinese manufacturer. They're going to be able to point to Nokia, who's in Europe, and show that they are not, they are not dominating. Well, okay, they are dominating the market, but they're dominating the market because they've got a superior product. Next subject.
Next up on our action-filled program, several rants tonight. Alan's in rare form. Sprint is the only major U.S. carrier yet to lose money this quarter, despite record subscribers. Sprint posted its fourth quarter earnings for 2013 this morning. This is from whatever day, February 11th, the day after our last show. With highlights including the highest number of subscribers ever for the company, third place carrier reports a loss of $1 billion, less than the $1.3 billion it lost in the same quarter a year ago. Sprint now has 53.9 million subscribers, highest ever after adding 58,000 post-paid subscribers, blah, blah, blah. So they now claim to have over 200 million people with LTE, and how do you have 200 million people with 50 million subscribers? I'm not sure how that works.
I don't know. This
I
article
guess
is
it's with
just
their sub networks. You know what I mean? Like
this article is a jumble that makes absolutely no sense. It omits T-Mobile's numbers, which weren't released at the time they wrote it. This is confusing and difficult to read. My favorite quote for the whole thing, however, is towards the bottom, where they talk about during the conference call about the earnings. The CEO says that he's in support of further consolidation in the wireless industry, as long as that doesn't mean that AT&T and Verizon are going to be consolidating, which is to say that he's fully in support of Sprint and T-Mobile merging.
I am not. I can tell you, I looked at my bill, and my Sprint bill went from $130-something to $97 for the exact same thing. Because the rep
this
told
is
me
why they're
now,
not making money.
Well, I mean, they're under pressure from T-Mobile. You can buy a $30, $50 phone or whatever. You can get a Google phone, a Nexus 5 or something, and you can go to T-Mobile and do prepaid. I think Nate Swanner said he pays some ridiculously low amount of money, and he loves the service.
Now even AT&T, I think AT&T, I believe they're the cheapest carrier in the nation as of like 2 weeks ago, though. So, I mean, their prices I think everybody's prices is coming down because T-Mobile went thermonuclear on everybody.
Right.
So
Dan, here's the thing. So you're fully in support of Sprint losing money. How is that a competitive action? The only thing that's going to do is drive Sprint out of business.
How did we go from I'm not for them buying T-Mobile to I'm in support of Sprint losing money?
Because that's what you said. You said you're glad to save $40 on your Sprint bill, and I said that's why they're losing money.
I mean, it's a rough market.
Why is it you hate capitalism, Dan?
Oh, is this Shriek?
And then answer your question. It says that.
Shriek.
And to answer your question, Dan, it says that it covers 20 or 200 million people. That doesn't mean that they're subscribers. They're just talking about their coverage when they say that.
Yeah, when that's 2/3 of the country. So, why are they losing money? What did the article say exactly why they're losing money?
I think their expenses are exceeding their revenues. But I'm no financial expert. So I'm going out on a limb.
Okay, Dan, trolling me.
I mean, here's the thing. As you point out, they've got more subscribers than they ever did. They are losing money, although they're losing less money than they did last year at this time.
I want to know what it is that happened this year that didn't happen last year that caused them to lose money.
Well, Pam, here's the thing. They lost money last year, too. They lost more money last year, though.
You have to admire
losing less money now.
You have to admire their consistency.
Look, Amazon doesn't make a whole shitload of money either,
like
right?
3% or something.
I think Amazon's first profitable year was last year, wasn't it?
No clue.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
That's why. That's why it was great that Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post, because he has lots of experience with money losing,
with money sucking holes,
long-term money sucking holes.
So can you confirm or deny that he's going to be buying Google Plus Week?
I think he's buying. I think Jeff Bezos is buying the Hangout 10 network. Rich Had is. He said, "What is it? I forget. He's doing a bunch of ads. He's trolling Craig, I think."
Rich Had says that Alan may be in rare form tonight, but let's face it, he's right.
So, next up, Andy Rubin.
Actually, Kevin Bryan then says, I'm not convinced that the lower prices are causing the losing of money. The real problem is that the company is a black hole and no one really knows why they're losing money.
That's a bad sign. Kevin Bryan through glass.
Wait. So, is Sprint a publicly traded company?
If there was an earnings call, then yeah, they're a publicly traded company.
Yeah, you don't see Hershey's giving that data out.
Okay. Well, we should be able to figure out why they're losing money then.
So,
right?
And please keep the comments coming. We like that, especially if they're favorable.
We need an accountant on the show. Who's an accountant?
I am not.
The real question is, who in the world is going to stay awake long enough to read Sprint's annual report?
Seeing no hands raised, I will go to the next story. Andy Rubin offered Android to Samsung first, and they laughed just 2 weeks before Google snapped Android up. Boy, you talk about missed opportunities. This reminds me of the Bill Gates book, or the book about Bill Gates, when what was it? There was a thing, and the guy kept Bill Gates waiting, and he was in an airplane, and Bill Gates got pissed off, and he went somewhere else, whatever, and like the world would have, been different.
The thing happened, and then the other thing happened, and because of that, nothing happened.
Wait. There's a vaguer way for me to explain this. No, tell. What do you think? Obviously, in retrospect, if Samsung had purchased Android, it would be a very different scenario here. Would it be for better or for worse?
iOS would be ahead, and there wouldn't really be any competition. Because you got to remember, they were first.
Well, if you look at Samsung and what they did to Android with TouchWiz, right? And now they're acknowledging, we're going to go with a more native Android experience. Do you think that Samsung would have screwed it up? Because when Android was sold, we're talking, a pretty ghetto interface compared to Apple, right? The iPhone. So
I honestly feel Android is what it is because of Google services, and I feel that if you remove Google services from Android,
then you'd have
Android
Palm.
Is not. Well, I didn't say all that.
No, seriously. I mean, if you look at early Android, would it have gone the direction of Palm? It would have been just another failed.
Yeah, it would have
attempt.
just been another mobile platform that somebody licensed, that somebody ran, that would have gone nowhere. It would have it would be a Samsung only thing, and yeah, maybe Samsung would still be the top phone manufacturer, but I think they'd have real competition from HP and Palm, and in the middle of this battle, the winner would be iOS. I think you're right.
Absolutely, it would be iOS. There would be no competition.
Cadeas actually made half a point. With
High praise.
Only half a point.
High praise from Alan Furstenberg.
Which we failed to discuss in the earlier one, talking about Android as an open source platform, and that's that even Google kind of makes it vague about what you're getting when you talk Android. So if you look, for example, when they talk about Android 4.4 KitKat, they're mixing it up between, they talk about things like Google Now as if it was part of Android when it's not something that's available through the Android open source platform. So even Google is kind of making it fuzzy, talking about how some of Google's services are part of Android when their open source platform doesn't have that. So that's a valid point.
And you gotta keep in mind though, is that those services that they're offering, Google Now and all the other ones, they're not a part of Android. That's why you have them on iOS as well, because they're not a part of Android. They're a separate service from Android.
Well, you also don't have them as part of Android open source, which is what people are bitching about right now.
It's Google's product. They can do what they want.
Yes, they can do what they want. The question is, twofold. One, what do they have a moral ground to stand on? And two, what should they do that's best for the company? And I think having an open source platform is definitely good for the company. And having some systems that are not part of that, but which are licensable from Google, is also good for the company. Whether they've got the moral ground to stand on, that's a little tougher. And that's kind of where this argument really falls. But I think I've made my point clear on that already.
Okay, so there we have it. Good comment from Kevin Bryan here. Here's a problem with Sprint and other carriers. How much does it cost to transmit a megabyte of data over their network? Anyone? See, they never have to say that cost. This brings up the scam that was text messaging charges. It was pure profit because the text messaging is not actually, because that existed before you really had data over these systems. The text messaging was always pigeonholed in with the voice system. And so there was literally no cost for the carriers. And that was just pure profit charges. And that's why they didn't want to give it up. That's why they wanted to charge for texting.
And plus, Sprint's still digging themselves out from the IDN network purchase. That IDN purchase was the poorest decision that they've ever made in the history of their company.
The what purchase?
So, Nextel, IDN, the IDN network. That was the biggest mistake they've ever made. They're still trying to recover from that.
It was really popular for like construction workers or taxi cabs.
Sure,
but that's a niche market. How many construction workers do we have in America?
Most freaking annoying.
Oh God, when you're in Wally World or something and somebody's talking to his wife on the freaking thing.
Oh my God. Oh, I swear to God, I wish I had a 22 every time someone would get on that. I wouldn't shoot the person, just the phone.
I'm telling Sreek. I'm telling Sreek you just said that.
It was horrible. Oh, Lord have mercy.
So,
sorry.
Okay, in a moment, we're going to preview what will be an interesting discussion about the story you may have heard today. Company or group starting free worldwide Wi-Fi. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. First, we're going to do our recommended apps of the week. Alan Furstenberg, would you like to recommend an Android app for us today?
I would, actually. I actually have one this week.
Well, that's excellent news. As Pam and Cadeas quickly scour their phones. Go ahead, Alan.
As a lot of you know, I am big on pushing Android widgets, partly because they're one of the greatest features of Android and partly because nobody knows anything about them. So recently, Google Drive pushed out a new update, and this new update introduced a new Google Drive widget called Google Drive Scan, or Scan to Drive. And what you do is you'll be able to just touch this widget. It goes to a screen that looks very similar to what your camera looks like. You focus it on a receipt or a text document or whatever. You click the photo. It immediately turns it into a PDF that looks something like what you see here. You click this check mark, and it gets uploaded to your Google Drive, to a Google Drive folder. This is a great way if you're on the road to scan receipts, to be able to submit them for expense reports later.
He doesn't mean on the road. He means once you get to a stopping place. He doesn't mean for you to scan your documents while you're driving.
No, I don't mean while you're driving. I meant while you're away from your desk.
Pam's all about auto safety.
Anyway, this is a great feature. It's a great quick way to create PDF scans of your important documents. If you're at a library, this is now a great way to capture notes or whatever from books that you may be looking at, or reference documents, or whatever.
Copyrighted material?
Well, that's why I said if you're at a library doing it for reference information, so you're using it under fair use, the education clause. Do I need to nitpick your app at the same time as hard as you're nitpicking mine? Anyway.
No, I'm not nitpicking your app. I think it's a fantastic app.
Anyway, this is a great new widget available with Google Drive. If you've installed Google Drive on your phone, you have this. Check it out under the widget section of Android.
Excellent.
And that is my app.
All right. So my app is topical, and before I do that, I'm going to do a quick comment from Rich here. He says, one thing that I really like about my Note 2 is that I can take video, and as soon as I get back home to my Wi-Fi router, the video is automatically uploaded to my Google Plus account through auto backup. Excellent. And, of course, remember, folks, you can set that to be a condensed version. It's better than Facebook's photo condensation, whatever you call it. It is. You can also set it to be full size, but then they charge you on Drive. It counts for your Drive storage, so you have those options. Okay, so my recommended app of the week is the Tonight Show app with Jimmy Fallon. I'm a Jimmy Fallon fan. I also like Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm a Jay Leno fan. So I had mixed feelings. I think Jay kind of got screwed, but it's a business decision, and for whatever reason, they didn't want to lose Fallon from the network, so they got him to take over the Tonight Show. But they have a really innovative app, and the description is it's the ultimate way to interact with the show, ready to tweet your Tonight Show hashtags or submit your videos to the latest challenge, looking for free games that are as silly as they are addicting. Wonder who will be on the show tonight. The official app is something no foul pal should be without. So here we go. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. I'm doing some screenshots here, and there's some arcade games with Jimmy. I'm sure they'll do a Flappy Bird knockoff at some point if they haven't already. And it's kind of neat. You can, they show the guests, and then you can tweet to them prior to the show. And then sometimes they'll have video challenges, and you can upload your video using the app, and then it might be used on the show. And then here's some games and stuff. So I think regardless of your feelings about the Jay Leno transition, involuntary as it were, to Jimmy Fallon, there's certainly no denying that this is a very innovative effort to create an app for a show, and so I applaud them, and I hope this is the beginning of many such apps to come. I know a lot of shows and a lot of networks have apps, probably all of them or most of them, but I think this is pretty creative and funny in places, and so since this is the debut of the new Tonight Show is tonight at like 11:30 or midnight, whatever it is in your area. My recommended app of the week is the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, available in the Play Store, and it's from NBC Universal. So there we have it. Cadeus, do you have an app you'd like to recommend for us? No, and not even
not this
audio.
Week.
Pam Adger, do you have a recommended app this week?
I do not.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Well,
I'm sorry. I was going to do one that probably would have been slightly inappropriate, but I decided to be nice and
should we vote? Should we all vote? Who wants Pam to do her slightly inappropriate app?
That's the internet. She can do what she wants. No regulation here.
I did download two that I might be in a position to talk about next week. They are MyFitnessPal and JetFit, so we'll see. I'm gonna open them up and look at them. So
because Pam and Kadeus, you're both new, so understand that the recommended app does not necessarily have. It's almost a misnomer. It can be one you recommend personally, or it can be one you've heard about that you're playing around with. You're not necessarily ready to recommend, but it's of note, and maybe folks should check it out, right? So it doesn't.
Or if you're Dan, it could be this app that you accidentally read about 2 minutes before the show started.
And have never used.
You can mention it without knowing anything about it.
Right.
No,
right.
I mean I actually
there's screen
did.
caps I can show. Go ahead, Pam.
I actually did download MyFitnessPal and JetFit, the free versions of both, and I would like to try them before I talk about them because both of them came recommended, and we'll see. The only app I have on here that I've used since last week is Snapseed, so I'm sure you guys have talked about that before. It's kind of like our Google Plus photo editing, looks exactly the same as our.
Well, that's because Snapseed was made by Nick Software, who also made the new photo editor. So
yeah. So
Dan, what is this final? So we have on here coming up Friday on Google Plus Week. What is Google Plus Week, and when does it air?
Well, funny you should mention, Alan. Google Plus Week is our technology show, which is Google Plus centric, and it's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. #1 show on Google Plus, longest running show in many ways on Google Plus. And a couple comments here. Kevin Bryan says no one should feel sorry for Jay Leno. He already screwed Conan. I'm happy to see him leave, as funny as he is. Here's the deal. It's business. Conan is an adult. Jay's an adult. Conan he's making millions of dollars on whatever channel that I don't get and can't watch. He's a funny guy. Jay Leno's a funny guy. Jay Leno, I do think Conan got screwed, and I think Jay Leno got screwed. I don't think two wrongs make a right, but it's business. And Jay Leno was #1 for 2 decades. So, we'll see. And I think Fallon's great. So I'm just putting that out there. And then Kevin Bryan recommends an app. He says Quell, Reflect puzzle game with Cloud Progress Sync. A ton of fun. So check that out. And okay, so our story that
hang on a second. There's also this one from Rich asking what happened to Nate Swanner. We can confirm that Nate Swanner is alive and well, and that Dan has not done anything to him at all.
No, he's still on the intro. No, he's super. He's switched. He's in a new gig now. He was with Android Authority. Now he's with Android Community. And he's busy. I just talked to him a couple weeks ago. Bruce is in a group with his church on Mondays. Duke is busy, and Michael Banks is with us occasionally in between his college schedule. So I think he does some Monday marathon classes or something. So the panels change, and they're they can come in sometimes when they can, and it's cool. But we got,
I'm only here for random comments and occasional opinions about stuff.
She's like
and
the color analyst on the NFL game.
Yeah.
She's the John Madden of our Android week. With more hair.
Hey, yeah, more hair. Yeah.
So there we go. Okay, and Kevin updates that the name of the app is Quell::Reflect. Quell with a Q, :Reflect for our SoundCloud listeners. Okay, so all right, next up is this story that I saw. It was on Drudge Report. If you go to Drudge, it says that there is a free Wi-Fi coming worldwide. Well, what did I do there? Drudge report. DRU. Oh my God, how much longer? And okay, I'm in the wrong place. I'm one of those people who's typing it in the search thing instead of the URL bar. All right, so right here at the top of Drudge, company says it can beam free Wi-Fi to every person on Earth. So you'll be reading stories about all of this, about this story all over the place, but that is actually inaccurate. It says, forget the internet, soon there will be free outernet. Company plans to beam free Wi-Fi to every person on the Earth from space. Well, that's a long-term goal, but actually it's a content delivery thing, sort of like a shortwave radio, but data. And I've emailed the head of it, and hopefully he's very engaging, and they have a nice forum. So let's look at exactly what this is.
You want to know what this is? Let's cut to the chase. You want to know what this is?
We got to be nice, Alan, because we're going to interview the guy, right? We don't want to scare him.
This is Dish Network. That's what this is. That's all it is. This is no big deal. This technology has been around for 20 years. 20 years!
But the bottom line, you can say that, Alan, but to be fair, North Korea does not have access to Wikipedia, or the Sudan does not have necessarily, parts of it don't have access to Khan Academy. And so what this is not Wi-Fi, although two-way is planned and hoped for in the future. This is more, think Wikipedia, the Wikipedia channel, the Khan Academy channel. But I think it's more like you got to, for your calculus lesson, you got to get there at 8 p.m. Because it's not like it's not on demand as much as broadcasting or data casting is what they're calling it, right?
And we've had it for 20 years.
Not in North Korea. I don't think Pyongyang can.
Do you really think that North Korea is going to get this?
Yeah, because we're not. Because it won't work in a metro area. It'll work in a sparsely.
I got news for you. Dish doesn't work in a metro area either.
Furthermore, Dan, even if they did beam this down to North Korea, they need the devices and everything running on the same frequency to even be able to use the service.
That's exactly.
How many North Koreans do you think have a laptop or even a smartphone? They're too busy trying to eat food. They don't even have food. They're starving.
So you guys are poo-pooing this whole thing.
No, I think we're all saying it's great, but it's not this, oh, wow, it's going to revolutionize the world.
It doesn't appear to be free Wi-Fi for the world. It appears to be a well-intentioned broadcasting network to beam content to the world.
What are the speeds
that they're advertising? 20 years. Sorry, Cadenas, go ahead.
I was just wondering, what are the speeds that they're advertising?
Okay, so again, that's not out yet. But if you look at the web page, they got a forum you can go to, and the guy, the head guy, is very responsive, and he answered that. And there was also a Reddit thing. He did not an AMA, but just sort of a post about it. He said that they don't have the final speeds yet, but I think this is going to be akin to fast dial-up. But it's going to be free, and I'm guessing there's going to be sponsorships and maybe some ads. I don't know. But I want to ask him because, like I said, I've invited him to do an interview. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And if I do, as soon as I find out when we lock down a time, I'll post about it. And you know, we can, any questions you guys have, the viewers, and you know, we can pepper him with questions. So I'm hoping to get him on for something, either on Google Plus Week or something, you know, some kind of standalone thing. But the idea of in 2015 there's going to be free Wi-Fi worldwide is not accurate. There might be one-way free 2400 baud content delivery worldwide. So there we go. But we'll find out. I'm going to hopefully talk to the guy. Okay, so any final thoughts, Pam Adger, on this? Alan's looking at me like I'm insane.
Yes!
Are we done?
Yes, we're done!
I guess we're done.
Do I have any final thoughts about? No, I don't.
Anything?
When have we done final thoughts on this show?
I don't know.
How was my Android week? Since
No!
Friday?
Well, let's see. I turned my
Oh,
phone
I
on.
watched. Wait.
Oh, God.
I watched the House of Cards.
Oh,
The whole
no,
first
no,
season.
no spoilers. No spoilers. We got to do.
Only
Alan,
the-
add
only the
this.
first season.
Note the
Only
time.
first season.
A quick House of Cards.
Wait a minute. All this is a Google Plus week ending. What are we doing here? We're
It's
supposed to
okay,
end
it's
this out
okay.
smooth.
Tell me. Don't
All right,
tell
guys.
us. Don't tell
What
us.
we're doing here is that Dan thinks we need to have this show run for 4 freaking hours.
No, we're done. We're done. We're done. I have a
All right,
funny
guys.
idea.
We'll see you
talk
next
after.
week. We'll see you Friday on Google Plus week.
All right, we'll do our full no spoiler edition of House of Cards. All right, so we have two programs. We have
5:30.
we have Google Plus Week, which is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern on Friday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We also have this program, Our Android Week, which is broadcasted at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific on YouTube Live and Google Plus. Also, you can catch us on SoundCloud. I think my account is Dan McDermott. SoundCloud.com/Dan McDermott or something. And anyway, it's been great. We appreciate you all very much watching and commenting and listening. And Kevin Bryan notes Dan is serving up a poo-poo platter of an idea about Wi-Fi in North Korea. So now we're all going to, after we Google WTF Japan, we'll Google WTF is a poo-poo platter. So there we go. So we also want to welcome our new sponsor, Beats by Dr. Dre. Until we see you next week, have a great Android week. Thanks.